Good morning and welcome to Newsfirst Prime Time Sunrise.
It's Friday the 12th of September 2014. A very good morning. You're watching Prime Time Sunrise with me, Mahina Bongzo. Here's a look at the headlines this morning. An inquiry against the OIC of the Ingiriya Police. The Department of Wildlife states that a special program will be implemented for animals affected by drought at the Yala National Park. 10 houses damaged by winds in Monoragala. And US President Barack Obama says he will not hesitate to take action against Islamic State militants. We're moving on to those stories in detail now. Police media spokesperson SSP Ajit Rohana states that an inquiry has commenced against the OIC of the Ingiriya Police. SSP Rohana noted that the investigation is being held regarding the concealing of information related to the death of an individual who collided with a police jeep. The inquiry has been initiated by the ASP in charge of the Mathugama area. A youth died after colliding with a police jeep recently, while another who sustained injuries is receiving treatment at the intensive care unit of the National Hospital. A police driver, a police sergeant and a police constable who were taken into custody in connection to the incident were remanded until the 15th of this month. This was after the group of officers were produced before the Horana Magistrates Court yesterday. Now, the Department of Wildlife Conservation states that wild animals at the Yala National Park are facing a severe shortage of food due to the drought.
An official from the department stated that wild elephants and buffaloes were the worst affected. He added that the animals do not have sufficient amounts of grass or leaves to consume. He further stated that the Department of Wildlife Conservation and the area residents are working towards providing food and water to these animals.
Well, in another extreme news, 10 houses have been damaged due to strong winds experienced in the Madhula Divisional Secretariat area in Monoragala. Assistant Director of the Disaster Management Centre of the Monoragala District, A.H. Ravindra Kumar, states that electricity supply to the Udumulla area in Damagala has also been disrupted as a result. Furthermore, roads have been blocked due to trees being uprooted by the strong winds last evening. Well, moving on to more local news, the Indian High Commission has issued a letter to the Sri Lankan External Affairs Ministry in the expectation of resolving the Indo-Sri Lanka fishermen crisis. Secretary to the Ministry of Fisheries D.M.A.C. Dissanayake said that the letter was in turn sent to the Ministry of Fisheries by the Ministry of External Affairs. Meanwhile, 53 Indian fishermen who were taken into the custody of the Sri Lankan Navy for violating the Sri Lankan maritime boundary have been placed in remand custody. The fishermen were taken into custody in the seas off Kites and Thalemanar on the day before yesterday. Assistant Director of the Department of Fisheries, Lal De Silva, said that so far 76 Indian fishermen have been arrested, while 73 Indian fishing vessels have been seized. Well, moving on to some international news now. US President Barack Obama has said he will not hesitate to take action against Islamic State militants in Syria as well as Iraq, and has authorized airstrikes against the group targets inside Syria for the first time, pledging to destroy its fighters wherever they exist. Now, in an address to the nation yesterday, Obama also said he would be dispatching 475 US military personnel to the country to assist its besieged security forces, but would not have a combat role. We're moving on to more international news. An Al-Qaeda-backed militant group that seized 45 UN peacekeepers 2 weeks ago on the Golan Heights has posted a video in which the hostages from the South Pacific nation of Fiji say they're expected to be released soon. Now, the troops were seized by rebels from the Al-Qaeda-affiliated Al-Nusra Front. Brigadier General Moses Tikotiga said that Fiji had been informed of the imminent release of its soldiers by the UN headquarters in New York. But a government spokesperson in the Fijian capital Suva denied the reports and said negotiations were continuing. The Al-Nusra Front says it is holding the peacekeepers because the UN force protects Israel. The Al-Nusra Front has issued several demands as a precondition for the release of the Fijian soldiers, including dropping the group from the UN's list of terrorists. Welcome back to Prime Time Sunrise. We're going back to some news making headlines here at home. Earlier on in the bulletin, we spoke to you about 10 houses that have been damaged due to strong winds experienced in the Madula Divisional Secretariat area in Monragala. We have the visuals for this story right now. Let's take a look.
Assistant Director of the Disaster Management Centre of the Monragala District, A.H. Ravindra Kumar, states that electricity supply to the Udumulla area in Dambagala has also been disrupted as a result. Furthermore, roads have been blocked due to trees being uprooted by the strong winds last evening.
A media briefing will be held at the Archbishop's house in Colombo to brief about the visit of His Holiness Pope Francis to Sri Lanka. We contacted the director of the National Catholic Centre for Social Communication, Reverend Father Cyril Garmani, for more details.
The first media briefing on His Holiness Pope Francis's visit to Sri Lanka will be held at 10 a.m. today at the auditorium at the Archbishop's house. Many important areas will be discussed at this media briefing. We hope to share information about the Pope's visit, which will be of great importance to the people of Sri Lanka. The media briefing will be held under the auspices of His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, the Archbishop of Colombo.
We're moving on to some sports news now. Italian Fabio Aru came out on top to win stage 18 of the Tour of Spain in a close finish with Chris Froome, who has closed the gap on overall race leader Alberto Contador with just 3 days to go. Now Contador retains the red jersey, while Froome, who is now 1 minute 19 seconds off the lead, moved into second place ahead of Valverde. Well, with that, we conclude today's edition of Prime Time Sunrise. Thank you very much for being with us. Do join us on our Live at 55 updates starting from 8:55 onwards. Thank you again for joining us. Have a pleasant day ahead. Take care and God bless.
Hotline 0114-896-896. www.newsfirst.lk. Feedback at newsfirst.lk.